Right. Again, good morning, grade 10. We are now in the last uh, part of the sexually transmitted diseases. We are done discussing them. We're also done elaborating those signs and symptoms. Do you have any question with the sexually transmitted diseases?
None so far.
Since then, we are not done with our topic, the reproductive system. We have a lot of activities to do so. Um, Again, we are actually in a hurry since your um, third master test is fast approaching. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go to your LMS and do activity number 4, living with reproductive system. Okay, again, what I want you to do now is I want you to go to your LMS and go to activity number 4, which is living with reproductive system. Do you have any question so far?
None.
How about elaborate on the topic? Do you have any suggestion, or you came up with something analogy with the previous discussed
Sure, I have a question, sir.
scenario?
The menstruation for the girls, right? They stop at the menopause stage,
Yes.
and there are cases man, sir, na anang there are old ladies who get pregnant ba after their menopause stage din. Does it mean na wala na the lining in the uterus? Is that gone?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. Well, menopausal babies, yes. Apparently, there are some older, like in 40s and 50s, that's still capable of um, of pregnancy. But the problem there is, remember the hormones, okay?
Yes.
Girls or females are driven by hormones. There are some cases that the secretion of hormones in them, especially in usually they're in provinces. That is why provinces the tendency is the environment is not that polluted. Number one, there are some instances like this. Okay, and factors that affects um, sexuality, right? So what happens is during that time in their menopausal area or menopausal age, they're not into menopause stage. When you say menopause stage, in that particular stage, the secretion of hormones, the secretion of um, hormones already stopped. Meaning to say that the sexual stage already stopped. Okay, but some factors extend it simply because the area is not polluted. Number one, number two, the food that they eat, okay, extend their sexual life. At the same time, in males, if females have menopause, males also has its own. It is called andropausal. Okay? In andropausal stage, the 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 creation of sperm cells stops, and the 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 secretion also of hormones stop. Okay, but this is seldom to happen. Okay? Males usually don't experience menopausal, andropausal. Instead, um, they tend to release the hormones instead, no? And eventually, um, they will experience erectile dysfunctions and everything. So those are the common problem with males. Any questions so far? Any other question? By the way, what are the hormones involved in females? As what we had discussed. Grade 10? Are you still with me? What are the
Uh, The I think that's the progesterone. Well, I forgot.
Okay, we have two hormones involved in females, right? What are those?
Yeah, the progesterone and
Progesterone and
estrogen. Is that
estrogen.
estro?
Okay, progesterone and estrogen. The rise of estrogen will mean that what? What will happen to the female body if there is some rising of estrogen?
The development of the breast and the pubic hair.
Okay, those are called the secondary sex characteristics. Okay, when the estrogen rises, the female body will develop its secondary sex characteristics. This is the reason why females or bisexuals use these hormones for them to develop the secondary sex characteristics of the females. What else? How about the rise of estrogen? The rise of estrogen? The rise of progesterone? Anybody? Audrey?
Yes, teacher.
How about the rise of progesterone? What will happen to the female's body?
Progesterone.
Yeah,
Well, um, they have like hormonal changes like that, teacher.
apparently there are some hormonal changes because there is some rising of
Yes.
progesterone. What will happen to the female body if there are some higher volume of progesterone in the body?
Your body starts to change, teacher, like that.
The body starts to change. What are those changes? Anybody? Inario?
Yes.
Is that the
From
menstruation?
yes, like that.
I'm not sure.
Come again, Inario?
There's ovulation.
Ovulation. Yes. It will actually let the body, the female's body, to ovulate. At the same time, prepare the body for possible pregnancy. This is why the thickening of your endometrial lining in your uterus, so those are driven by the rise of progesterone. How about um, the development of follicle? What hormones are involved in the development of the follicle? Anybody? Development of follicle? Grade 10. These are the questions that I want you to, internalize because these are the thoughts of the topic and these are the concepts behind the topic. Okay. Again, what are the hormones involved in follicle, in the formation of follicle? Remember your follicle?
Yes, the follicles.
Okay, what are the hormones involved in the development or creation of follicle? In my module, if you're going to look at the module, it is actually step-by-step process from ovulation, going to menstruation, and going back to pregnancy, and then so on. That is why in female reproductive system it's quite long because there are a lot of hormones involved. Again, going back to the question, What are the hormones involved in the formation of follicle? Okay. In the formation of follicle, there are two hormones involved. Please, please take note. The first is follicle stimulating hormone, the FSH, and the luteinizing hormone. This culminates the ovulation and release the mature egg. Once you ovulate, you release immature egg. Again, it all started with the follicle. Follicle cells develop. And these follicles are actually driven by the hormones called follicle stimulating hormones and the luteinizing hormones, right? After
Yes.
the ovulation, it actually stops the ovulation and release immature egg. This mature egg now is viable for fertilization. And again, it now signals the body that the female's body now is fertile. This is now the time that the female's body is already fertile. Okay. What will happen now after 14 days of the cycle? The egg is now viable fertilization. Okay. What will happen to the egg now if it will not fertilize?
The walls will start to break, leading to menstruation
Okay, correct. It will eventually rupture. Okay,
because it has no use now.
correct. And will develop into corpus luteum. Okay, this corpus luteum, this is a yellow body. It will rupture itself and eventually travels in your oviduct to your uterus, going to your vaginal canal, and it will exit as a blood. That is now your menstruation. Okay. What else? How about the drop of the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone? What will happen to um, the egg if there are some drop or the levels of follicle stimulating hormone drop and the levels of luteinizing hormones drop? The dropping of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone will actually disintegrate or helps the egg disintegrate, the corpus luteum to disintegrate, and a domino effect will happen. Okay, the progesterone level will also um, becomes low in concentration, and the endometrial lining will actually disintegrate also. So that is the reason why menstrual blood is not pure blood. Okay, there are a lot of tissues involved there. Okay, there are a lot of tissues involved. There are a lot of cells involved there. What are the two phases of uterine cycle? What are again the two phases of uterine cycle? Grade 10?
The teacher.
Yes, there are two phases of uterine cycle. Lately, we
Prolific.
discussed ovarian cycle. Let's move now to uterine cycle. Yes, really.
Was it the proliferative phase
Yes, correct. And
and
The
the
luteal
uh,
secretory phase.
secretory phase?
secretory phase. What will happen to the proliferative phase?
It will be interrupted, teacher.
Again? Am I gonna say?
It will be interrupt. It will be interrupted.
Diba we have two phases in uterine cycle after menstruation? This is after menstruation, by the way. So,
I think the mature, the the follicle will mature.
diba we started with developing the follicle, the rising of the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone, and then what will happen to the uterine? Okay, here comes the uterine cycle. Okay, we have two phases in the uterine cycle. The first is proliferative phase. This is now the formation of your corpus luteum, the secretion of progesterone, the development of the endometrial lining. It will thicken the endometrial lining. Those are the important details that happens in the proliferative phase. Because the uterine now, the uterus started now to prepare itself for possible developing embryo. That's
Ah,
why the uterine
okay.
glands become mature and produce the secretions. That is the proliferative phase. The second phase in the uterine cycle is the secretory phase. Now, the word is self-secretory. Okay? What will happen to the secretory phase?
It begins, teacher, on the 50th day.
Okay? And it actually secretes a lot of progesterone. That is why it is called secretory phase. Okay? It secretes a lot of progesterone. That is why it is secretory phase. Again, please take note of the two phases in the uterine cycle. Again, this is after menstruation. If you're going to look at the process in your module, it is actually complete. Okay, from the starting from the follicle, going to menstruation, and going back to fertilization, going back to just the uterine cycle, the rise of estrogen, the rise of progesterone, the withdrawal or the low concentration of estrogen and progesterone, and the pregnancy. It actually ended up with pregnancy. Okay. What hormone is detected by your pregnancy test kit?
The hormone, right?
Yes, what hormone is detected by your
The
pregnancy kit?
I'm not really sure about this. The human chorionic. I don't know the last part.
HCG.
ECG.
Yeah, that one.
Yes. The human chronic. gonadotropin. The human chronic gonadotropin, this is also the hormone that acts on the female's body, which stops now the or maintain the uterine not to be broken. Why? Because there are some developing embryo or there is a developing embryo inside the uterus. Okay? This is the reason why pregnant women don't menstruate. There's no menstruation in pregnant woman. Why? There is a presence of human chronic gonadotropin, and this human chronic gonadotropin is important for the developing embryo. Okay, this is usually detected by your pregnancy test kits, and again, this will pass through the urine. The higher concentration of human chronic gonadotropin is in the morning. Early in the morning, the concentration is higher. That is why test kits they usually have it early in the morning. And this human chronic gonadotropin plays a vital role in the development of your placenta. Remember your placenta?
Yes.
Okay, what is placenta?
The organ that develops when there is fertilized egg or during pregnancy.
Correct. This organ develops when there is a developing embryo inside the uterus. At the same time, this organ also gives nourishment to the embryo. So it really plays a vital role in the development of your embryo. At the same time, this um, placenta is the connection between the mother and the developing embryo. It is connected in the endometrial lining of your uterine wall. Okay? This is the reason
Sure,
why.
Nini, you can injure. He's having trouble with the connection.
Why? What happened?
No connection, daughter.
Mm-hmm. You still have 10 minutes. Again, grade 10. I want you to ask questions, especially with the terminologies, because these are not just a mere discussion. Okay? We will learn something out of this. And again, these are hormones, and these hormones are with you. Okay? Question so far with this female reproductive system.
None so far.
Okay. As a summary again, the rising of um, follicle stimulating hormones and luteinizing hormone will develop a follicle. This follicle, the rising also of the follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone will actually rise also to the uterine cycle. Okay? The proliferative phase and the secretory phase. Now, this uterine wall or uterine cycle actually prepares the uterus for possible pregnancy. Okay. Again, the lower the level of um, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone will actually drop also the two hormones involved, the progesterone and the estrogen,
Estrogen.
leaving now what menstruation, leading to menstruation. Okay, after menstruation, again the cycle will repeat again. Okay, if there are some possible pregnancy or the female's body becomes pregnant, the menstruation stops because of the human chronic gonadotropin. It is a hormone involved which maintains the corpus luteum at the same time which maintains your endometrial lining. And remember that your uterine wall in your endometrial lining will disintegrate if the levels of the estrogen and progesterone decreases. Diba? Once decrease, the endometrial lining will disintegrate. So, mo ito ma-add sa inyong menstruation. But because of human chronic gonadotropin, it will retain its endometrial lining. At the same time, your placenta. Remember that your placenta is connected to your endometrial lining, okay, in your uterine wall. How about male reproductive system? How about male reproductive system? Do you have any question?
None so far.
Sure.
None.
Right. What is the hormone involved in the male reproductive system?
Testosterone.
Testosterone.
Okay, testosterone. What will happen if the level of testosterone rises?
Yeah, there are changes in the body of the teenager when testosterone levels rise, and it usually occurs during puberty.
Okay. So when the level of testosterone rises, the secondary sex characteristic also can be seen. Again, the secondary sex characteristic can be seen. This um, rising of testosterone will indicate that the development of the male's body becomes prominent. Like for example, the development of the hair, the body hairs, muscles. Uh, that is why this is usually used also in those um, bodybuilders. They're using a lot of testosterone because they want to develop more in their body. Okay. In the male reproductive system, it is actually unique. Also, at the same time, because the uterine opening serves as the exit also of the sperm. Okay. What will happen or what happened during ejaculation? Since, again, since the urethral opening of the male reproductive system is mixed with the urinary system, remember that it is actually mixed, unlike with the female. The female has its own urinary system, which is in the clitoris, and vaginal opening is in the female kanang reproductive system. Okay, in the male, it is actually mixed. Okay, the urethral opening, which is served as the exit of urine, also serves as the exit of sperm. What happened during ejaculation?
When they there's a signal through the nervous system which makes the epididymis squeezed, and that that's the reason why the sperm goes to the vas deferens and becomes semen and go to the urethra and exit through the penis.
Correct. The brain now controls. Okay, again, the brain now indicates or controls the secretion of urine and the secretion of sperm. So di na sila magdungan. At the same time, because the urethral opening is the exit of urine, tendency is it needs to be cleaned. Okay? That is why before ejaculation, there are some fluid that will clean the urethral opening or the urethral passage. Okay? Question. Upon traveling, the sperm travels, right? Upon traveling, there are three glands that contribute to the traveling sperm. What are those three glands in the male reproductive
Uh,
system?
prostate gland,
Prostate
seminal vesicle, and
gland.
Cooper's gland.
Okay, correct. We have seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and Cooper's gland. Seminal vesicle gives nutrients to the sperm. Prostate gland
Yes.
gives alkalinity to counteract the what? The acidic vagina. Remember that the vagina is really acidic. That will apparently kill the sperm. And these sperms are actually basic or based in nature. And the Cooper's gland, which creates a lubricating effect. It is now the composition of your semen. Okay. What do you call the tightly coiled tube compartment inside the testes?
What again, sir? Come again?
What do you call the tightly coiled tubes in compartment inside the testes?
Vas deferens.
Vas deferens is is actually the passage of sperm. Okay.
The wait, I think that's the epididymis.
Epididymis. This is actually the area where the the unmatured sperm becomes mature. Okay? Katong mga wa nag-mature na sperm, it will be collected in the epididymis. Question there is, what do you call the tightly coiled tubes compartment inside the testes? It is called seminiferous tubules. Okay? Seminiferous